Hi, how are you? In this video, you and I are gonna build a really awesome Town Hall 9 war base. I'm gonna give you all of the tips and tricks that I use when I build bases. And of course, I'm going to include the base links in this video. And we're getting started right now. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Captain Nemo. Welcome to another video. Today, we're talking about base building. That's right, concentrating on Town Hall 9 and building a war base. But we're not just gonna build a war base and give you a base link and all that. We're going to talk about base building. We're gonna give you all of the tips and tricks that I use when I build a base. I'm gonna rebuild a really awesome Town Hall 9 base and hopefully show you how you can start building your own base. If you're interested in Town Hall 9 base building tips, if you want to know how to get started, this is the video for you. And of course, I'm going to be providing you all of the base links that you want, the copy links. They're going to be in the description of this video. So if you're looking for just those, go ahead and check those out. They're right there and you can get them. Now, when I say two different base building links, why do I say that? Well, let me explain. This base right here, this is an old school base, one of my bases that I use for Town Hall 9. Now I love this base, it's performed really well over the years, and I mean years. I've had this base for a long time, right? It's done really well. It's something that I love this base, but since recently there's been a lot of different changes in the meta, so some things need to be, of course, changed around. And what we're gonna do today is we're gonna show you the best way to build a base at first. If you're new to base building and you don't really know how to build a base, if you just want to get started and kind of see if you are good at base building, want to build your own base, right? Everybody wants to do that. I know it's very difficult. So the best way to do that, the best possible way, is to actually have a base and rebuild it, not to start from scratch. I know most people, when they try doing base building, really in general, they try to start right from scratch. They say, oh well, let me see what I can do and just start doing the base building. Well, that's actually not the best way to do it. If you want to learn base building, the best way to learn base building is to rebuild the base. That's right, whether it's an internet base that you pick up somewhere out there on YouTube, whether it's one of my bases, one of your own, if it's a base that's not working well for you, the best thing that you can do is rebuild it and figure out why it's not working for you and then rebuild it. That gives you specific skills that you get every time you do that, and eventually, after a little while of you doing that, you're gonna be able to start building your own base. So what am I gonna do? I'm going to take this base and I'm going to provide you a base link for it. This exact same base before we start rebuilding it, just in case you wanted to grab it yourself and start building it your own different way. And hey, if you're interested and you wanted to do that and you have your own configuration for it, provide the base link in the description right there in the comments. We would love to check it out. I want to see it. I'm sure everybody else does. Let me check out what is your version of a rebuild for this base would be. Now, what I'm going to do is, in this video, I'm going to rebuild this base from my point of view and give you all the tips and tricks. And then I'm going to provide the link for that as well. So you'll have two different links, the link for the base right now, before, and the after. And of course, any link that you want to share with us would be great. I would love to check those out. Let me see what your technique would be to rebuilding this base. But right now, this base as it is one of my old school favorite bases. So let's get started. Let me talk about base building. Let's start building this base. Let me show you what I do when I first start looking at base building. This is really exciting. So let's get started. Back to base building. I love base building. And if you haven't noticed, there's a lot of different base build videos on my channel for all the different town hall levels, but because I love base building, right? I build all kinds of different bases. By the way, you should definitely check those out. If you're interested in any kind of bases and you have not seen my bases, check them out. I'll link them above in the loot card at the end of this video, as well as you can check them out in my playlist. There's base building library playlist that has all of the different town hall levels. Seriously, from 12 all the way down, I build different bases. You should definitely check them out. They're super awesome, and I hope they do really well for you. So this base right here, This is one of my favorite bases that I used to use all the time. In fact, I've used it in the last few wars just to kind of get it tested out again. This is a really cool base. I built it a long time ago, really. It's been years since I've used it. So what's so good about this base? Well, old school base. The good part about it has really good trap placement. Really good trap placements. What I do here is, of course, I use this is designed to kind of go against hogs, as well as a few different like Valks and witches. I'll talk about witches in a little bit, but the trap placements is a pretty good design here, so I'm not really going to change those around much, I'll be honest with you. If you notice, I'll give you a few little examples here. All of my spring traps are basically placed in between defenses to make sure they maximize and spring the most hogs. I have some bombs outside for which trap placements. I have most of the bombs inside in between defenses, as well as this one right here. Even though it is outside, it's still in between defenses. That of course is for double up, right? You want to make sure that it picks up all like the witches that are walking on the outside, but it also, if someone's gonna come in with the hogs, right down this way, they're gonna run into this giant bomb. And if that happens, what that does basically is that forces an early heal. And yeah, you have a wizard, sorry, you have an expo right here, but basically when you force the hogs and you force that sort of an early heal, it really screws up an attacker a lot of the times, because most of the time they want to heal somewhere in between the expos or where there's a bomb tower or something like that. They don't expect the bomb right here, and when that happens, it takes the hogs down. And there's a second bomb right over here in case the hogs come in on pathing, of course takes them down. This bomb tower right here. So if the hogs come in from this way, this is a really good trap placement right over here. Early heal, spring trap, right? And then you have some basically you have a this hits all of the hogs at once. This is a splash damage, so as the hogs are coming in, they're already hurt, they get sprung, they're getting splash damage, and you have the second bomb right here to take out all the rest if the attacker does not heal right here. So it's pretty good. I like that. There's a few little other things like that, but notice another giant bomb in the same fashion right over here. The same thing with these spring traps. They're all placed specific ways to get maximum amount of damage, or basically maximum amount of defense that I need. Same thing right over here, same thing right over here. Notice all of them are pretty much the same. So that's kind of a trap. So the trap placements, we're gonna leave those alone. They're pretty good. We're gonna move a few of them around because we'll have to move the base around, right? And that's what it's all about. So trap placements are right. There's a Tesla farm in here. Notice right over here, we are gonna have to change that around, and I'll talk about that in a minute. There's also a wizard tower farm. You guys seen those around? Wizard Tower Farm? I love those. Those are really awesome. They are hog and loon melters. They really are. It also forces people to come in from this side. If you leave the wizard farm, I call it Wizard Tower Farm right over here. If you leave that for the end, that's bad news, because it really can hurt a lot of witches. It can hurt. It's a really good scenario, and I love the Wizard Tower Farm. I'll be honest with you. I mean, it could give you a couple of disadvantages, maybe if somebody starts a queen walk from this side or something like that. But it's really cool, and I don't know, I love it, so I'm gonna keep it. It's up to you, of course. There gives you the base link. You can provide which one you like, but I really like it, so I'm gonna keep this Wizard Tower Farm. We're gonna have to move and definitely change the Tesla, right? Let me zoom in and show you. Why are we gonna have to do that? So what is let me know, what do you think? What is the issue with the Tesla farm here? Well, the one major issue with the Tesla farm is the Teslas are touching each other. These right here. What that does is that makes them really vulnerable to balloons. If a balloon comes in, it can damage all of the Teslas, all of the ones that are touching. It can damage them all at once, and that's not good. And that's a vulnerability, so we're gonna need to adjust that, because a loon placement from this side can take out the Tesla farm way too easy. So we're gonna need to move that around. And what I mean by that is we want to break that up a little bit. We want a space in between the Teslas, between this guy and this guy, and then this guy and this guy. We want space. So we're either gonna adjust them, or maybe break up the Tesla farm, have 2 and 2, maybe have 3 and 1, maybe, you know, break it up completely. But I kind of like having a Tesla farm right here, because it really, a lot of people don't, as crazy as it sounds, a lot of people don't expect it. This is a really good base for clan war leagues, and even trophy, right? Because this town hall is recessed. If everything, most people, if they dump everything in this direction into this town hall area right here, I call that a recessed anti 3. most of the time they're not gonna get to the end, not gonna get all the way to the end. There's too much stuff going on. You got the clan castle, we got, by the way, which is centered, so that's another positive for me anyway. I love centered clan castles, so this is as well centered. Pretty difficult to lure out, and requires somebody to actually commit, so I like that. Same thing with the queen. The queen is pretty far, if you notice. She's pretty in, so same thing. It really requires somebody to commit if they're going to pull the queen out. It requires either jump, ball breakers, queen walk, queen charge, something like that to get into the queen compartment, into this area right here. So that is in a good placement as well. So, but we're definitely going to move the Teslas. What else are we going to do? What are some of the other positives in here? Like I said, this is what I call, by the way, a nested NT3. A nested meaning that the town hall is not really on the outside. It's more on the inside, but it is kind of open. So a lot of the times when I really like this as a trophy base, because most people come in from this side. Because it seems like it's an easy town hall, and maybe it is, but once you come in this way, it's bad. So what is the second thing that we're gonna do? There's another thing that I definitely want to adjust in this base. I think that this base has worked really well, but one of the things, unfortunately, that's a really big issue at Town Hall 9 in general is witches. Right? Witches are really they're destructive. If somebody knows what they're doing, if there's an attacker that understands and works really well at Town Hall 9, they can take the witches and they can get almost a 90% hit rate, because it's really, really difficult to stop the witches. Specific, there's like all kinds of different witch slaps you could use. The stoned witch attack is really difficult to stop. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to attempt at a bit of a redesign to make sure that I stop the witches, right? The witches, it's just the witches. Same thing with the loons. Now this base has done really well against the loons. Actually, it works super well against loons. So I'm not going to worry about that too much, but we're going to change it against witches. We're going to move the Tesla farm around. We're going to adjust a few other things, and then we're going to test. That's what you have to do when you're a base builder. If a few things are not working out and you've noticed that in your attacks, you're gonna do some adjustments, and then you're gonna run the base, test it, and see how you do. And that's what we're gonna do together. Since you want to learn how to do base building, me and you are gonna do some base building together. So we're gonna do all of this adjustments. You can run your own, you can do your own adjustments. You can just follow with me and take the base link and then do some testing, and then we can always come back to this if we need to and adjust a few things if they're not working. Make sure to leave down the comment below what you think about it, if you did the redesigns, if it's not working or working for you, because I will be looking and I'll definitely be answering all of them, and I'll make sure that we adjust as we go along. So let's get started. First and foremost, let's take a look at this base and let's see how I start designing my own base. Alright, so first up, we're gonna tackle this whole witch thing. So what do I need to do? What am I gonna redesign in this base? Well, with the witches, it's really difficult to stop them. It's like almost impossible, right? But we're gonna do that. We're gonna make an attempt. We're gonna try. I love the witches, by the way. Stone witch attack. I'll link that in the in the link card above at the end of this video. Make sure to check that out. Actually, I have pretty good attack strategies with the stone witches that really rip apart bases. So to really, if you want to learn how to run stone witch, I have really good videos. I'll link them at the end so you can check them out. But this base, right? So stone witch, how do we stop that? Well, what do they normally do? They normally run golems in the front, right? Or some sort of a healed witch. Either way, but with the golems in the front, especially if you're only 2 or 3 of them, it's very difficult to stop them because the golems are tanking, right? And the witches are right behind, just making skeletons and going on and on and on. And when you're making that attack, when you're running the stone witch, you want to make sure that you jump through the base, and you want to make sure that you sort of catch the X-bows on the golems. Your golem's going to want to do the tanking, otherwise your witches are going to die out, right? So in this case, the issue, in my opinion, is it's too easy to run the golem straight through the base. What I mean by that is, if you look at this base right here, our favorite base, and then if you place a jump right over here, there's one jump right over here, and then one jump right over here, that gives you access into both of the X-bows with your golems. It even gives you a center mount point for one of the golems. So what you could do, if you could run a golem this way, one golem this way, and then if you run one golem this way right here, right, then you're able to sort of hook into the base. If you jump right here and then jump right here, you have access through the base with the golems and then you just run the witches behind, and it's kind of easy. Now you don't know that there's a Tesla farm right over here, so that of course can kill your left funnel, so it's not as easy as it looks, but it's just too, in my opinion, it's a bit too easy for the opponent, right? So I'm gonna want to make sure that I somehow unhook these expos so it's not as easy for somebody to use 2 jumps or a wall breaker and a jump and push their golems and keep the expos engaged on the golems. I want them to be broken up somehow, so the golems either get stuck, so the golems can't get through the expos, and one of the expos at least is shooting at the witches. That's how you slow down the witch attacks, right? You don't want the expos shooting at your golems if you're on the defense. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna move this expo around, so let's do that. We're gonna take this expo right here and we're gonna move it around. Why? I also don't want to make sure that I kind of minimize the value. Right here there's a queen, so if you have a queen already set in there and you have the clan castle that's kind of close, you don't want to give away one of the expos. It just gives more value to the attacker coming in from like this direction or that direction. So we just want to kind of break that up and move that around. So we should move the expo into somewhere else, somewhere where it would do well. Now, where do we want to move the expo? Think about it. So if you got one expo right here and they're gonna use either a jump or wall breakers. Wall breakers would actually be pretty difficult because it's most likely gonna break this piece of the wall. But either way, and then a jump, you're gonna want to put the expo maybe in this place, right, into this corner right here, or maybe swap it out with one of these. That would not be a bad idea either, right? If you take the expo and move it around. So if we take this expo, remove it, and then let's say, Alright, so let's see, let me get rid of the scout view and let's check it out. So what are we gonna do? Let's move. So we took an expo out of here. We need it somewhere in this area, because I mean, I know it gives away 3 of the, but most people wouldn't come in. Maybe they would. That would be interesting. But I think that the other expo, if it's far enough in this direction, it kind of is lopsided, right? If you notice, let's take a look at the base. If you have an expo right here already, if you put one somewhere close to here, it's kind of lopsided, far away from the queen, which is kind of what you want to do. In most cases, a successful base is something that separates a lot of your key defenses that most people try to go for, right? So when somebody's going with the witches, they're going to want to go for most likely the 2 expos, right? You're going to want to hook your golems onto them. So if we put one of the expos right here, for example, that might work really well. So why don't we try doing that and then test it out and see how it works? So let's zoom in. And what are we gonna remove here? So let's move this archer tower right over here where the expo was. We'll move it right over there, and then we're gonna take the expo and replace it. And now what do we want to do? Do we want to leave the giant bomb right over here and place the expo right next to it and just completely do a swap? Or that might be a little too close, right? So might want to move that around a little bit. Do we want to replace the giant bomb and put it somewhere else? I mean, it's nice for the hog placement right here, but let me zoom out a little bit. That's how it was all last time. It worked pretty well. I don't really have issues with the trap placement, so maybe that would work well because they're pretty far from each other and they still cover most of the base. It gives you, it exposes this side of the base a little bit, gives it a little bit more weakness. So we might want to make sure that we keep our Tesla farm right here and not move it out of the way, because since we moved this expo right over here, right, it gives you this area right here that's not being covered. But I think that's a good placement for the expo. We'll leave that there. So we adjusted the expo now, and it's a bit harder for you to come in with the golems, right? Most of the time, if you're gonna come in from this direction, you jump, and when you do the second jump, your expo is still guarded by the wall. So that's, I get hit a lot in this direction with the witch attacks, so that should work really well. Plus you're getting run into 2 giant bombs right there, so that should slow down at least the golems enough for this expo to survive. Now if somebody were to come in this way, if somebody were to come in from this direction, from the northwest, right, you're gonna hit the first expo right here. If you're doing a jump, you could possibly, if you're coming this way, use a jump right over here, right in here, and get access into the second expo. Right, so that is a weakness in the base. The issue though with that, in my opinion, is it's going to force your troops this way. It's gonna force them this way and kind of get them stuck in this direction. And then, I mean, most likely, especially with the witch attacks, if you don't, the Tesla farm at the end of a witch attack is a bad idea for the witches. Actually, a lot of the times it stops the witch attacks dead at the end, right? So that's not a bad gig. Plus, you'll have to deal with the clan castle as well, and the queen is way in the corner over there, so she could survive also. It's really, it could be a bad and a good thing. I think it requires testing, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna leave the X-bows just the way they are, do some testing and see how it works with the attacks, and then come back to it if we need to. So let's move on to the second part of our redesign. Alright, so the second part of our redesign, what's the other part that we wanted to change? Well, that's the Tesla farm, right? We want to make sure that we adjust the Tesla farm. Why do we want to do that? Let me give you a quick little rundown. So the reason that you want to do that is because if somebody was going to come in into this area right here with the loons, with the balloons, when a loon comes into a defense and if there are two defenses that are touching each other, it has splash damage, so it can drop one bomb and hit both of the Teslas at the same time, and even a wizard tower right here, right? So that is not a very good design. You do not want a loon to be able to just, because they're slow generally, right? So you want them to redirect. You want them, if they're gonna come into this area, you want the loon to be able to attack one Tesla and then having to redirect, stop the bomb from flowing, float to the next Tesla, and then start again. That's the maximum damage or the maximum amount of time it takes the loon to start dealing damage again, and the maximum amount of time it takes for your defense to deal as much damage as possible to the loon. The longer it takes for the loon to get to the next Tesla, the more time you give that Tesla to take the loon down. So in this case, it's way too easy for the loons to come in and just wipe out this Tesla farm. So we're gonna want to adjust it to give at least one space in between each of these Teslas, right here and right here, and then adjust this wizard tower as well to get more space in between them. Same with this one, so we're gonna want to move them around a little bit. So let's do that. Now, if I was thinking about this, right, and I said, okay, so a loon coming in here can take this little area out as well, so we're gonna need to give them space too. So we either move this Tesla out of the way, which we're probably gonna have to do, or adjust some of these troops around to give it a little bit more space right here. So with this Tesla, it should be pretty easy actually. If we take it and move it like right here, that works pretty well because it's still in a range of the rest of the Tesla farm, so it's still a Tesla farm and it works well. Same thing with this Tesla, we could just leave it the way it is. Now if that's the case, if this Tesla is over here, right, we can take this one and move it, right, like right here, let's say, and adjust the reach a little bit, or we can leave it right here and just kind of leave it far. It's really up to us. Now the wizard tower, leave it here, move it out of the way, we'll leave it for last. Let's decide what we're gonna do right here with this guy. Now another thing to also worry about is once the loons get in here, they're pretty close to this air defense, so I'm going to adjust it and move it out of the way a little bit. Let me just see what the overall here is. So I have my one coverage here. Actually it does pretty well. And one on the top. Yeah, we're gonna leave this, we're gonna move this, adjust this air defense right here a little bit so we have more space again, so if the loons come in they have to redirect. Okay, that looks really well. Okay, now if we move just this Tesla out of the way, then I think we'll be in actually really good shape here. A little bit here. Now where do we want to put this Tesla? We adjust this, move it out of the way. Now, it looks like we're gonna need to at least create a space right here. I move this back. That's a 3 Tesla farm. That's close enough. Pretty good range. This should be a pretty decent spot, but I can't move this elixir storage out of the way because it's going to expose and allow people to drop stuff here. So unfortunately, this guy has to stay right here. So there's nothing I can put over here. Now, what I could do, they move that guy out of the way and then put another Tesla right here. The issue, in my opinion, with that is it's a bit kind of far from the rest of the. Ooh. Oh, that leaves a hole right here, huh? Can't do that. There, sweeper. We might have to move this guy back, yeah, because it leaves a hole, so we'll have to move it back. Okay. The other Tesla. If we move it out of the way, I mean, it's going to be close enough to hit with the loon right here if they come in, but it's close enough. I want it to be kind of close to the Tesla farm. Still be a Tesla farm. Otherwise, really, like a lot of the times what I like to do also is run a 3 Tesla farm. That's something I do with the wizard towers here as well. If you notice, there's 3 wizards right here and there's one in the corner. I love doing that. So maybe we could take the Tesla completely out of here and put it somewhere else. That actually sometimes is a good thing to do. Because most of the people, right, if you're running this base as a trophy base or a war base, most people will come into this direction right here to get the town hall, just like an easy 2-star for them at least. So it would be a good idea to take a Tesla and move it, let's say right over here. That's a good place to put it too, or somewhere near another giant bomb is a good place to put it. But I kind of want to give enough oomph here, enough damage here, because it's not really expected. So and plus it spreads the troops out, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to put 1 Tesla. Let's try that. Yeah, I like that. So right there, the Tesla being right there is pretty good because you can pull some of the loons in this direction and kind of take anybody who spams the attack, it kind of breaks them up a little bit and then sends them into different air defenses. It's a pretty good place. Let's try it this way. We can test it out right here. This is a good one. So what do we do today? We move some of the defenses around, right? We move this expo right here to make sure that we're less prone to witches. We move these Teslas around a little bit to make sure that we are better suited against the spam loons and something that provides a lot of like massive damage onto defenses that are touching. We want to make sure that we slow down the loons as much as we can, and this area is sort of a little bit more optimized towards that right now. So let's get that tested and see how it works. So what do we do today? We gave you some base building tips. We took a base that's worked really well for us and we did some light adjustments and light redesigning for it. We showed you why, we gave you ideas, and we talked to you about some of the tips that you need to start base building, right? Some of the tips and tricks that you need to start when you're doing base building. This is testing. This is what we do. We adjust some of the bases around and then we run them in war. Now you could take this base and completely tear it apart and redesign it, and honestly I would love to see that. If you do end up doing that, taking this base and redesigning it and completely tearing it apart, I would love to see it. Please share a base link in the description. Definitely want to check it out. So but that's what you do. That's how you start. Light adjustment and then do some testing. If it works, you leave it. If it's not, then you move it around. If a base is really bad, you need to scrap it. Then like I said, you take another base and you start adjusting it to the way you like it. And eventually you'll sort of understand that things will start clicking together and you just start building specific bases. But you never really want to start from scratch if you haven't built the base before. So like I said, this is a good template for you. This base has worked really well for me. It's one of my favorite bases. I did a little bit of a light readjustment. I'm gonna be testing it out and I'm gonna let you know how my design does. I hope you do as well. If you want, grab this, test it out, let me know how it doesn't work for you, and then we're gonna redesign it if we need in the next one. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely hope that you learned something today and enjoyed this video. I'm going to provide you both of the base links in the description. That's right, the one that we adjusted now and the one that we started will be in the description of this video for you to enjoy, copy, and do whatever you like with it. I hope it does really well for you. Like I said, I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm going to be bringing you so many more things when it comes to base building, when it comes to trophy pushing, farming, and so much more. You make sure to check out my channel and check out the videos. I have so many different playlists for you, including this one right here. This is a Town Hall 9 base playlist. That's right, base building and all the bases that I've built right here in this video. I hope you enjoy and I'll see you there.